though, Skip.
All right, I know.
It's a sweet play. He just tried to do whatever he could to keep the drive alive.
But that's who this kid is, and he will try just about anything at any time. So, to me, bottom line takeaway is their greatest strength, which has been Brock Purdy, can also be their greatest weakness because he's got that haywire gene in him in which he will try Brett Favrean kind of throws. And a lot of times they work, and sometimes they do not work.
I think for them, though, if you go back and you look at some of the games that they lost this year, when that left tackle and Trent Williams is not in the game, it's a different situation for the quarterback position. Jadeveon Clowney and the company smelled the blood in the water, and they attacked and went after him. And you have to admit that, Richard, when that guy is not on the field, it's a different offensive line. And you can certainly see that late in the game last night.
He allegedly pulled his groin. That's what they said. I don't know what it was.
They got beat up on the offensive line. Jadeveon, I want to say he had 2 sacks in one drive. But again, Skip, nonsensical. I'm not concerned about this in the least. Again, 3 of the passes gets tipped up. Congratulations. Great plays by the defense. They took advantage of those plays as they should. The bad read by him, which wasn't really a bad read. George Kittle runs the route he's supposed to run, holds the safety like he's supposed to. It's drilled in the end zone. That's what he was expecting. George Kittle instead goes underneath the corner, which you never do on a corner route, do you, Keyshawn? You never go under the corner.
It didn't look like a corner route. Based on the depth, it did not look like a corner route.
Exactly.
Maybe, but based on the concept, when I got a seam route that gets covered 2, I'm the bender. That backside route is a corner route to pull Hamilton out of there. Now he got a big cavity to drill the ball in. He didn't see it, I'm sure. He didn't recognize it. He let it go. So I don't know if I put it on Kittle or if I put it on Purdy. But based on looking at it right there, it certainly looked like if he would have gone deeper to the front, to the back of the pylon, Hamilton sees him, and then it's a big cavity for him to throw it in there. Just like we credit other people with interceptions, we can't take the fact that Brock Purdy did throw a pick. We can't all of a sudden start saying, well, a pick is a pick.
Kyle Hamilton is playing all-pro football, and they're a different defense when he's not out there. I think he'll get his first all-pro this year, and he deserves all the credit. He's a big reason his defense works. His variability, I mean, he's playing linebacker, he's playing nickel, he's playing safety. He plays everything. He's very useful in his defense. I mean, he's playing kind of a robber role, and he's been fantastic covering receivers, running backs, tight ends, everything, and he's been blitzing. He's really the linchpin of this defense, along with what you said, Jadeveon Clowney. Matabike I think he has 12.5 sacks, might have got another half a sack last night. And so this defense has got people getting sacks from all over the place. But it does not concern me about the Brock Purdy deal. You know, games like this happen. This is still a second-year quarterback. A lot of those balls are tipped up. If these were balls where he's just throwing it to the defense consecutively, where he's like, hey, make a bad read here, make a bad read here, make a bad read here, and you're like, oh, well, maybe this kid has lost the juice. That is not what I saw last night. But, again, congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. They played a big game in a big situation against the #1 team in the league when they had to have it. You know, this is primetime game in December, and you can't throw a 4-interception game in December and expect to win the MVP.
No, you cannot. And by the way, real quick point on Kyle Hamilton. He did look like he got hurt in the 4th quarter, and yet John Harbaugh said after the game it did not look serious. He's had a sprained knee, and it looked like he just aggravated it as he went down and got his leg caught up underneath him. So I'm hoping for their sake he's okay, because he is a driving force of that defense.
What do you think about the other guy on the other side, though, Skip?
Yeah.
How well did he play?
Yeah.
How well did that offense and Zay Flowers and company play? How well did Edwards, when allowed to rush the football, do for them or catch the ball out of the backfield? What do you say about that side of the ball?
What I say about it is that Lamar took the MVP lead last night, and I know Richard is about stats, and Richard is about Brock Purdy stats and C-Mac stats, and I give you those stats, but what did your eyes tell you last night? Who took the game over last night as the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens? He controlled the football game from start to finish, and there are very few quarterbacks I've ever referred to as a baller, because the position is not a balling position. But Lamar just balls. He just wants the ball and to control the ball and make the throws and the escapes and the runs that he needs to buy time when he needs to. He's just difficult to deal with. And I thought he just took the game over to the point that on the national stage on Christmas night, he sees the MVP lead from Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. And we'll get deeper into this in just a moment, Richard, but you're probably, if I know you, not buying that.
I mean, the stats are all that matter, Skip. I mean, the last 3 MVPs, the last 5 MVPs have had over 40 total touchdowns. You talk about Aaron getting it with 48 touchdowns and I think 4 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. Even Lamar, when he won it, had 43 total touchdowns. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. But if you're saying a guy is going to win MVP with under 30 touchdowns, it'll be the first time in a very long time.
And, and that may very well be the case. But what did you see with your eyes is what Skip is asking you, not about touchdowns. What did you see?
Again, if I judged the MVP off of one game plays, like if I went off of, I saw one game and these guys played great, then we wouldn't have the MVPs that we've had in this league. So what I'm saying is, what you're saying is stats don't matter, Keyshawn. And so for the history of this game, stats have mattered. So for the history of this game, stats will matter. And so when you have to start your conversation off with stats shouldn't matter in this case, there's not an argument to be made.
Okay, but Richard, the one stat that matters right now is 12-3, and that's what the Ravens are. I think they're going to be 13-3 when they beat Miami.
He beat the dude head to head, Richard. Like, come on, man. Like, come on.
Okay, so again, you don't need the stats though. So you beat the guy head to head. You don't need the numbers.
We're gonna get into the conversation about the MVP. I just want to know what you saw on the field from Lamar last night, because I know what I saw. I saw the best player on the field was Lamar Jackson.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And he played, no question. There's not a debate about that last night. He played a great game last night. Let's not debate that. You're debating the MVP. So are you debating the MVP of the league, or are you debating who was the best player on the field last night?
First of all, I asked Skip a simple question.
No, Skip asked me a question. So you didn't ask me a question.
No, I asked Skip a simple question. I said, what did you see? Then Skip asked you what you saw. You start talking about the MVP. All I want to know, what you saw on the field, was he the better quarterback last night?
I would say he was the best player on the field. We can argue that. We could debate that to the end of time, but that is 100% the fact. Is he the MVP of the National Football League? Is what Skip was alluding to when talking to me. So that's not. I mean, statistically, that's not the case.
But you keep talking about statistics.
So what else is there to talk about when you're talking about the MVP?
The man is 12-4. He win in a candlestick. Say it again. 12-3. He win in a candlestick. Why do I keep calling it candlestick?
It's okay.
He win in San Francisco. Okay? And went head to head against 2 people that the nation said was the front runner for the trophy.
And so again, we're talking about statistically. I could go on and on about when Brock Purdy went head to head with guys who would lead the MVP race. Keyshawn, that's not an argument to be made.
You keep talking about statistics. It's going to be quarterbacks, and I don't have the chart in front of me. But by the time we get to this conversation, Richard, I'll make sure that Nick give me the numbers. It'll be quarterbacks. I can't wait. It'll be quarterbacks in this league on losing teams, or teams with less records than Lamar with better numbers.
So
in the end of the day, the number is the W is what matters.
So now it's just the quarterback for the winningest team in the league is the MVP. Is that what we're saying now? I'm just trying to figure out what the
winningest team in the league plus his numbers. What numbers are you looking at?
Touchdowns. Keyshawn Johnson, when he won the MVP of the league, which he has done,
it's
had 43
a different year. Nobody's throwing for 50 touchdowns this year. It's a different year.
What I'm saying is the MVP of the league, Keyshawn Johnson, he had 43. So that year, the numbers mattered. That year, when he had 43 touchdowns, the number mattered. When he doesn't have 43 touchdowns, the number.
Team, Richard. He's also on a winning
with
team.
The numbers. So those go hand in hand.
Never mind, man, because you.
So, Richard, the beauty of last night was we had a solo stage game on Christmas night, this late, on December 25th. It was the first time in 30 years that we had 2 teams, not since Dallas at New York Giants at the end of the 93 season, with the 2 teams with the best record playing for home field advantage. It's been 30 years since we had this kind of a showcase, not just team versus team, but in this case, we had an MVP showcase showdown last night. And clearly, the voters are going to be heavily swayed by what they saw this late in the year, because you can't ask for better than this. This was on silver platter for the nation to sit back and behold. And there it was.
Are you talking about they not comparable? What numbers are you looking at?
Don't worry. I will destroy you in the next conversation, Keyshawn. We don't need to keep going back and forth. The numbers will destroy you. There's no logic to your conversation. There's no backup. There's just you saying, I test. I will go number after number. I don't want to get into the numbers because the numbers. I know you don't, because the numbers won't support your argument.
We're going to get into it when we get into
the numbers won't support anything you're saying.
Oh, all right, man.
All right.
All right, enough of that for the moment. We will get right back to it in about 30 minutes here on Undisputed, because
we
up
gotta
next,
wait so long?
we got to we got to bring the playmaker in to talk Cowboys.
Why you got that star on?
I got to hear what Michael Irvin has to say about Cowboys dead or alive after that thing down there in Miami on Christmas Eve.
Dead as a fish.
No mercy, no mercy.